You know, there is a very specific sound that happens in, like, millions of bedrooms every single morning.
Right, and it is definitely not the alarm clock.
No,
Okay.
definitely not. It's that subtle collective groan as people just swing their legs over the edge of the bed, stand up, and, feel like their knees and hips are suddenly made of rusty hinges.
Oh, totally. It is the universal soundtrack of waking up. Just that momentary hesitation where you literally have to negotiate with your own ankles just to walk to the bathroom.
Exactly. And, I mean, most of us just accept it, right? We shuffle down the hallway, we joke about getting old, and we assume it's just the inevitable price of admission for making it past our 30s.
Right, like it's just a given.
Yeah, exactly. But today's deep dive is all about decoding that rusty feeling you get when rolling out of bed. We really want to know, is it just an inescapable fact of aging? Or is your body actually trying to tell you something critical before the real trouble starts?
Well, it's almost always the latter. Our bodies are just constantly communicating with us. And persistent morning stiffness is one of those early, subtle clues that we routinely ignore. We brush it off as normal, which is a massive missed opportunity to understand our own internal environment.
So to help us decipher those clues today, we are pulling from a really incredible stack of information. We're looking at a comprehensive diagnostic framework called the 10-minute morning mobility test, and we're also diving into the actual biological science of joint lubrication.
Right, looking at what's actually happening on a cellular level.
Exactly. And then exploring targeted nutritional support, specifically the mechanism behind the supplement joint genesis.
It's a great collection of sources because it moves so seamlessly from the microscopic biology of your cartilage right down to how comfortably you can reach into your kitchen cabinets today.
Yeah, it really does. So I want you to imagine your own morning routine right now. When you woke up today, did your knees feel a bit stiff? Did your lower back or your hips take a full minute to just loosen up?
Think about how you moved in that first hour.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Before we can figure out how to test our mobility or how to fix it, we have to understand the biology of why we feel like the Tin Man before that first cup of coffee. Like, why is it always the morning?
Well, it all comes down to the science of stillness. If you think about what you are actually doing when you sleep, I mean, for 6, 7, hopefully 8 hours, your body is relatively inactive.
You're just stationary.
Right. You are stationary. And human joints are fundamentally not designed for prolonged stillness. Healthy joints rely entirely on something called synovial fluid.
And that's the liquid inside the actual joint capsule, right?
Correct. It is this incredibly slippery, viscous substance enclosed inside your joint cavities. Its primary job is to lubricate the cartilage and allow your bones to glide smoothly against one another without wearing each other down.
Okay, that makes sense.
But there's a major mechanical catch here. Cartilage doesn't have a direct blood supply. The only way it gets nutrients, and the only way that fluid works effectively, is if movement actively circulates it.
You know, the best way I can picture this is like the oil in a car engine.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah, like if you park your car in the driveway overnight, the engine gets cold, and all that oil slowly drips down and just settles in the oil pan at the bottom.
Right, it pools down there.
Exactly. And when you first turn the key in the morning, the engine isn't fully coated yet. If the engine isn't running, the oil isn't circulating to coat all those gears.
That is a perfect analogy. When you are asleep, your internal engine is basically off. The synovial fluid isn't actively being pumped and circulated through the joint capsule.
So you're just dry.
Basically, yeah. So
Yeah.
when you first stand up, you are essentially running on dry gears for a few moments. Gentle movement after waking is what literally pumps that fluid back into the cartilage matrix.
But this isn't just about whether or not the fluid is present, right? I mean, it's about the physical quality of the fluid itself. The sources mentioned a specific star player inside that liquid that we need to talk about.
Yes, the heavy lifter here is a naturally occurring molecule called hyaluronan, which you might also hear referred to as hyaluronic acid.
Which people probably recognize from like skincare commercials.
Yeah.
It's always marketed for anti-aging and skin hydration.
Exactly, because its entire superpower is retaining moisture. It physically binds to water molecules.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and inside your joints, hyaluronan is what keeps the synovial fluid thick, bouncy, and viscous. It is what gives the fluid its shock-absorbing quality.
Those are the cushioning.
Right. It lubricates the joint surfaces, it cushions the massive physical impact of your everyday movements, and it drastically reduces friction. Without enough hyaluronan, your synovial fluid becomes thin, watery, and just terrible at its job.
It's like trying to lubricate a car engine with water instead of motor oil.
Exactly. It just wouldn't work.
And this brings us to a really striking, honestly kind of alarming metric from the research. As we age, our natural production of this hyaluronan just plummets.
It really does.
Yeah, by the time you hit age 60, the concentration and the quality of the hyaluronan inside your synovial fluid can decrease substantially. In fact, in some individuals, the lubricating properties of their joint fluid drop by as much as 50%.
Half. Literally half of your joint's natural cushioning power is just gone.
But what blows my mind is that this drop-off doesn't announce itself with a massive injury or like a sudden tear.
Right, and what's fascinating here is that this 50% drop is happening quietly in the background long before any severe symptoms appear.
It's just silent.
Yes. Which brings us right back to your morning routine, that rusty for the first hour of the day feeling. That isn't just you being tired. That is a critical early warning system.
Wow.
It is your body telling you that your synovial fluid is losing its thickness, its hyaluronan, and its ability to bounce back quickly from a night of stillness.
So that perfectly sets up the problem. We know a lack of circulating high-quality fluid is causing the stiffness. But how do you, as the listener, know the difference between just normal morning grogginess and a joint environment that is practically crying out for help?
Right, like how do we measure this without going in for an MRI?
Exactly.
Well, we can shift from internal biology to an external practical assessment. There is a fantastic diagnostic framework in the sources, the 10-minute morning mobility test, that you can use right in your living room.
I love this because it requires absolutely zero equipment. But we should probably be clear here. This is not a medical diagnosis. You aren't scoring yourself to take to an orthopedic surgeon.
No, not at all.
It's a snapshot. It's simply a way to see how comfortably your body is moving on any given day.
Exactly. It's about building bodily awareness. We spend so much time operating our bodies without actually paying attention to how they function. Well, until they literally scream in pain.
Right, until something breaks.
Yes. This diagnostic is about listening to the whispers. It uses 5 specific movements. You just wear comfortable clothes, and, most importantly, you move slowly without forcing any position.
So let's walk through how this actually works. The first movement is a simple forward fold, or toe touch. You stand with your feet shoulder-width apart, and you slowly bend forward, keeping your knees mostly straight.
Right.
Now, my immediate reaction to this when I read it was, well, I haven't touched my toes since middle school, so I automatically fail.
And a lot of people feel that exact same way.
Right, but passing this assessment does not mean you must touch the floor.
No, it is not a gymnastics tryout. What you are observing is the quality and the friction of the movement. Does the descent feel smooth, or do you feel a harsh catching restriction?
Like a physical block.
Exactly. Are your hamstrings extremely tight? Do your knees lock up uncomfortably? Does your lower back pinch or prevent you from hinging forward? It is about assessing the internal resistance, not the destination of your fingertips.
Okay, and that naturally flows into the second movement, which tests the lower body even further, the deep squat. You stand comfortably and slowly lower yourself down into a squat position. But the crucial mechanic here is trying to keep your heels flat on the ground while you do it.
This one is incredibly revealing because a deep squat is a compound movement. It requires coordination from multiple major joints simultaneously.
Yeah, it's not just your knees.
Not at all. If you struggle to get down without your heels immediately popping up off the floor, or if you immediately lose your balance and fall backwards, you aren't just looking at weak legs. You are looking at restricted ankle mobility, specifically dorsiflexion.
Okay.
You're looking at tight hips and poor knee comfort. If you can't squat with your heels down, multiple joints are sending out an SOS.
Wow. Okay, moving to the upper body, we have the shoulder reach. You reach one hand over your shoulder, reaching down your back. Then you take your opposite hand, reach behind your lower back, and try to touch your fingers together in the middle. Then you swap sides.
You're obviously observing shoulder flexibility here, but also chest tightness and thoracic spine mobility, which is your upper back. And a massive asymmetry is incredibly common here.
I noticed that.
Yeah, one side will feel relatively fluid, and your hands might touch, but when you swap sides, your hands might be 6 inches apart.
I definitely have that. One side is perfectly fine, and the other side feels like it belongs to a completely different person.
It's super common.
Now, the next movement is the single leg balance. You stand near a wall just in case, lift one foot, and try to balance for 30 seconds. Then repeat on the other side. Now, wait a minute.
What's the issue?
I just have to push back on this one a little bit. Balancing on one leg. I thought we were talking about joint lubrication and synovial fluid. Isn't balance entirely an inner ear thing?
That's a common assumption.
Right. What does standing on one foot have to do with my cartilage drying out?
It is a very fair question. Yes, your vestibular system in your inner ear plays a major role in spatial orientation and balance. But mechanically, on a physical level, good joint health is not just about flexibility. It is about stability and proprioception.
Okay, how so?
When you stand on one leg, your ankle has to constantly make rapid microadjustments. Your knee has to lock in place securely without hyperextending. Your hip muscles have to engage immediately to keep your pelvis level.
So the joints are doing a ton of invisible work just to keep you upright.
Exactly. If your joints are degraded, if they are stiff, or if they lack smooth gliding movement, your surrounding muscles cannot make those microadjustments quickly enough. You wobble and you fall. Good joint health forms the structural foundation that balance absolutely requires.
Okay. That makes perfect sense. It's testing the structural support system under a load. And that brings us to the final assessment movement, which is walking rotation.
Right.
You literally just walk slowly across the room, which honestly sounds a bit too simple to be a test.
It sounds simple, but walking is a highly complex mechanical action. You are checking to see if your arms swing naturally in opposition to your legs. Do your hips rotate comfortably, or are they rigidly locked facing forward?
Right, like a robot.
Exactly. Do your knees glide smoothly as they bear your body weight? Is your stride even on both sides?
And this introduces a really important concept from the sources, which is the kinetic chain.
Yes. Think of the kinetic chain like a series of interconnected gears in a machine. Your ankle, knee, hip, and lower back are all gears linked together. Restricted movement during a simple walk indicates a stuck gear somewhere along that chain.
Okay.
If your ankle gear is stiff and doesn't bend, your knee gear has to compensate and take on unnatural shear force. If your knee gear grinds, your hip gear gets thrown out of alignment and hurts.
So you run through these 5 movements. You check your forward fold, you try the deep squat, you reach behind your back, you balance on one leg, and you analyze your walk across the room. Let's say you've done this, and maybe you wobbled uncontrollably on the balance test, or you couldn't get anywhere near a full squat without your heels popping up.
Right.
Why did you score poorly, and what can you actually do about it without panicking?
Well, to understand why mobility declines, we have to stop looking at the joint as just a hinge. We need to look at it as a complete, interconnected system. Imagine the suspension system of a car.
Okay, so like springs, shocks, struts.
Exactly. To have a smooth ride, you need all of those components working together. In your body, you need healthy cartilage to cap the bones. Those are your shock absorbers. You need strong muscles to move them. That's the engine.
Got it.
You need flexible tendons to connect muscle to bone and stable ligaments to connect bone to bone. Those are your struts and mounts. Add in the connective tissue, the fascia, and of course that well-lubricated synovial fluid we talked about. Aging affects literally all of these components.
And it's not just chronological age either, right? It is the mileage. Physical inactivity, carrying excess body weight, old sports injuries, highly repetitive movements from your job, chronic inflammation from diet or stress. All of these things basically degrade your body's suspension system.
They absolutely do. Which raises an important question: do we just accept this degradation?
Right, so what does this all mean? Are we just doomed to get stiffer every single year? The great news from the research is that mobility responds incredibly well to consistent, targeted daily habits.
It does. The body is highly adaptable. If you give it the right mechanical and nutritional inputs, it will respond. There are 5 specific daily habits that form a fundamental defense strategy for your joints.
Let's hit them. Habit 1, gentle morning stretching. Taking just 5 minutes to stretch when you wake up. But wait, I have to be skeptical here again.
Go for it.
You're telling me 5 minutes of waving my arms around undoes 8 hours of stagnant sleep? How does 5 minutes actually move enough fluid to matter?
Because of a property in the synovial fluid called thixotropy.
Wait, thixotropy, did I say that right?
Yes, thixotropy. It means the fluid is highly sensitive to shear stress. When it sits still, it becomes a thick gel. But the second you introduce physical movement, like stretching or bending, the physical action instantly causes that gel to thin out, circulate, and coat the joint surfaces.
Oh, wow.
You are manually pumping the fluid back into the cartilage. 5 minutes of mechanical pumping is all it takes to restart the engine.
That is genuinely fascinating. Okay, habit 2 is walking. Regular walking physically nourishes the joints through repetitive, low-impact movement. It's essentially maintaining that pump we just talked about.
Precisely. And habit 3 is staying hydrated.
This one was eye-opening to me. Drinking water directly supports the fluid inside the joints. I was thinking about this like a kitchen sponge. Like if you have a bone-dry sponge sitting on your counter and you hit it with your fist, it doesn't absorb anything.
No, it's totally rigid.
Right, it might even tear. But if you run it under the tap and get it fully wet, it expands, becomes bouncy, and absorbs shock perfectly. If you want your joint tissue to absorb the shock of walking or running, it has to be hydrated from the inside out.
That is spot on. Remember the hyaluronan we discussed earlier?
Yeah.
Its entire function is to bind to water molecules.
If you are chronically dehydrated, the hyaluronan has no water to hold on to. It doesn't matter how much of it you have, without water, your synovial fluid loses its thickness and becomes that dry sponge. Wow. Okay, habit 4 is strength training. Now, people hear that and think, oh, lifting heavy weights will ruin my joints. But it's actually the opposite. How does building muscle protect the joint?
Well, muscles absorb kinetic energy. When you step off a curb, a shock wave of kinetic energy travels up your leg. If your leg muscles are weak, that energy travels straight into the cartilage and the bone. Right. But if you have strong quadriceps and hamstrings, those muscles contract and absorb the brunt of that force before it ever reaches the joint capsule. Strong muscles literally take the mechanical tension off the joint.
They're the heavy-duty springs in the car suspension.
Exactly.
And finally, habit 5, balanced nutrition. Giving your body protein, healthy fats, fruits, and vegetables provides the essential raw building blocks the body needs to actually repair joint tissue on a cellular level.
Those 5 habits, the stretching, walking, hydration, strength, and nutrition, they form the absolute foundation. There is no shortcut around them.
But let's acknowledge reality for a second. Lifestyle habits are the foundation, but what if you're already doing those things? What if you drink plenty of water, you walk, you stretch, you eat well, but you are still fighting that 50% drop in natural hyaluronan production that we talked about earlier?
Right.
Your body just isn't manufacturing the fluid the way it used to. What is the next step?
Well, that is where we introduce targeted nutritional support, specifically analyzing the mechanism behind a supplement like Joint Genesis.
Right, and this is aimed squarely at adults in their 40s and beyond. Whether you are someone who exercises regularly and wants to protect your joints, or maybe you spend long hours sitting at a desk and feel that stiffness creeping in, or you just want proactive support before significant problems develop.
Exactly.
But here's where it gets really interesting for me. How is taking a supplement like this actually different from just rubbing a cooling ointment on a stiff knee or taking an over-the-counter pill to mask the discomfort? Because, I mean, the supplement aisle is completely overflowing with joint products.
It is, and that is the crucial differentiator. You have to look at the mechanism of action. Most conventional approaches to joint discomfort are entirely reactive. Your knee hurts, so you apply a cream that creates a cooling sensation to distract your nerves, or you take a pill, usually an NSAID, a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug.
Like ibuprofen.
Right, exactly. Those drugs work by blocking specific enzymes, turning off the pain signal, and reducing immediate inflammation. But they do not change the biological environment inside the joint capsule. They do not repair the suspension. They just mask the symptoms for a few hours.
So they basically turn off the check engine light on the dashboard without actually opening the hood to fix the engine.
Precisely. Joint Genesis is engineered with a fundamentally different goal. It is designed to proactively support the underlying age-related changes inside the joint. It specifically targets that natural 50% decline in hyaluronan we've been discussing.
So how does it actually do that?
By providing the specific nutritional building blocks directly to the body. It contains ingredients designed to nourish the synoviocytes. Those are the specialized cells in your synovial membrane that actually manufacture the joint fluid.
Okay, synoviocytes.
Right. By feeding those cells, it aims to stimulate and support the maintenance of healthy hyaluronan levels, restoring the actual thickness, viscosity, and hydration of the synovial fluid itself.
So instead of just numbing the dry sponge so you don't feel it tearing, it's providing the exact raw materials the body needs to keep the synovial fluid acting like a highly effective wet sponge.
Exactly. The goal is to promote joint comfort, smooth movement, and flexibility over the long term by actively supporting the internal environment of the joint rather than just, shutting off a pain pathway.
That makes a lot of sense.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture, it is vital to remember that no supplement is a magic bullet. Joint genesis cannot replace a terrible diet. It cannot replace the mechanical pumping action of exercise, and it certainly doesn't replace medical care if you have a severe orthopedic condition.
Right, it's a piece of the puzzle.
Exactly. What it offers is a science-informed biological approach to complement a comprehensive joint wellness plan. It's an additive tool for adults who want to remain active and independent.
Which is really the ultimate goal for all of us. It is not about suddenly having the hyperflexibility of a teenager. It is about maintaining your independence. Being able to get down on the floor with your kids or grandkids, being able to garden for an hour, being able to walk up a flight of stairs without wincing and grabbing the handrail.
It is entirely about preserving your quality of life.
So let's recap the journey we've taken today. We started by exploring the hidden biology of the morning creek, learning how our synovial fluid literally gets stagnant and turns into a thick gel when we are still at night.
And how our natural hyaluronan levels, our primary shock absorbers, can drop by up to 50% as we age.
Right. We learned how to test our own interconnected kinetic chain using a 10-minute snapshot right in our living rooms, checking everything from the friction in a forward fold to how our gears align when we walk.
We covered the foundational lifestyle habits required to mechanically pump that fluid and support the car's suspension system: hydration, strength training, daily walking, stretching, and nutrition.
And we examined how targeted nutritional support, like joint genesis, can potentially feed the synovial membrane to support those hyaluronan levels from within, aiming to address the root cause of the friction rather than just masking the pain.
That's the core of it.
We highly recommend doing that 10-minute mobility snapshot once a month. Track your squat depth, or your heels staying down. Note your shoulder reach asymmetry. See if you can balance a little longer without your ankle wobbling. It's a fantastic way to remind yourself that meaningful physical progress comes from small, consistent efforts, not overnight miracles.
Before we wrap up, I do want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. We've established today that gentle movement physically circulates the synovial fluid to nourish the joint. Your body is biologically designed so that the very act of moving is what physically lubricates your joints to allow for more movement.
Movement literally creates the lubrication for movement.
Exactly. So if we look at it from that perspective, a sedentary lifestyle isn't just making us, quote unquote, out of shape in terms of cardio health or muscle mass. Sitting still for hours on end is actively starving our joints of their own natural hydration. You are depriving them of the physical pumping action they absolutely need to survive. So the question I want you to ask yourself today is, what is your daily routine teaching your joints to do right now? Are you teaching them to glide, circulate, and absorb shock? Or are you teaching them to dry out and lock up?
That is a powerful question to end on. If you wake up tomorrow and feel that familiar warning stiffness, remember that your internal engine just needs a little priming. The waters might feel a bit murky, but your body's just asking for a little circulation, a little hydration, and a little attention. Listen to the whispers before they become shouts. Thanks for diving deep with us today. Keep learning, keep moving, and we will catch you next time.